Hey everybody, welcome to Your Unpaid Therapist.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Your Unpaid Therapist.
I'm not getting paid. I didn't even get a donut.
Oh, that's sexy though. I like it. I'm Valerie Milagros Ortiz. I don't know.
I am your host, Alicona. She's away. Brad Ford.
This is Your Unpaid Therapist. Shoo-wah, cha-cha.
Shoo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba.
Hello. Welcome to a new episode of Your Unpaid Therapist. It is a new season. We got an amazing guest for y'all because let me tell you something. This is the OG unpaid therapist for Valerie Milagros Ortiz since sixth grade, y'all. I can't even call her a bestie because she's practically family. Her name is Karina. Kari. Say hello to the people. Y'all, Kari is again one of my oldest, closest friends. She is a mom. She is an entrepreneur. She is a boss lady, and she has been going through some just like beautiful, like turning into a butterfly self-discovery and healing. And that is what we're talking about today. And I mean, Alicona, you know, like so many of us can relate to this type of journey in your life when you're just like, you see yourself and you're like, oh, dang, I am all of this and then some. And I just want to shout out my girl and talk about all the things that she's been overcoming. And we're going to do that. But you know, last season, we did Never Have I Ever. If you're new to the podcast and you're new to this season, we're doing these weekly song choices where basically we're going to tell y'all like the song that kind of just like really got us this week or whatever speaks to us this week, whatever that means to you. And Alicona, do you want to start it?
I will start it, and I just want to preface it. Shit!
Ding,
You
ding,
started.
ding.
I'm already screwing up. Okay, we just rewind. I want to preface this with the fact that this was Valerie's idea.
It really was. Listen, I love music, and I remember, and I don't know if you guys, do you guys remember Open Diary back in the day in high school?
No.
Not important. I used to have this diary thing, very much like whatever Instagram, Facebook is, and my titles would be the title of a song, and then I would do this like open diary journal entry, and it would motivate me. And I love music, and I feel like music is the one thing that brings people together. That we'll hear a song, and then we're like, yeah, you know, we're feeling it for whatever reason. So why not? Let's try this. And Alicona is a very amazing singer.
Oh.
How about this? She's
Episode
a
2.
dedicated.
Huh? I'm sorry. Season 2, episode 2. I can see your voice. Okay.
Go ahead and plug.
Chat dying. Please tune in or just listen to my song. Okay. So I told the ladies, as soon as you figure out what song I am singing, I need you to join along. So you listener, if you happen to be in your car, I expect you to wail until the windows crack. All right. So. Okay.
I'm scared.
I'm like, wait, hold on. The words are right there and I can't see them. Okay. Some shit. Okay. Hold on. I'm going to cheat and I'm going to move this so I can see the words.
Give us a little hum or something.
Okay.
So, because people are, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Rest assured that when I start to make you nervous and I'm going to extremes, tomorrow I'll be different, but today won't mean a thing. I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother, I'm a sinner, I'm a saint. I will not be ashamed.
Okay. All right, so you're calling yourself out in your age. Why did you pick this song?
Okay, so I picked this song because this week I felt like the whole song is like I'm experiencing extremes, but I'm okay with that. I'm not ashamed about that. And that's me. Like I'm all over the place. I'm not black or white. I'm like, and I'm okay with it. Like I'm okay with being a bitch and like really standing into my own. If I don't agree with something, standing up for myself, because the people pleaser in me is always like, sure, okay, and I'm gonna be really polite and nice and da da da. Now I'm like, you know what, F this. Like I don't like this, and I'm gonna walk away. Or you're not respecting me the way I need you to respect me, so I'm okay. So, anyways, that's where that inspiration came from.
I
Lady.
love it. I
Love
love it. Gotti, you want to go next? Should I go next?
All right.
Do it.
So, I don't know the words to the song. I just know the beginning. And today I just learned what it was really saying. So I'm like, what? So now this is definitely my new anthem, right? So, all right, I definitely can't sing, y'all. So
Hum it.
for sure.
Did you just hear it?
But I'm sure you guys know it. I'm just gonna sing the chorus. So, I'm unstoppable. I'm a Porsche with no brakes. I'm invincible. Yeah, I win every single game. I'm so powerful. I don't need batteries to play. I'm so confident.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm stoppable today.
Woo! I like that song.
Ooh, yes, I
Why are you
love it.
feeling unstoppable? Tell us about your week a little bit.
This song just made me realize like you're gonna have moments that you're gonna go through it and be like, oh, this try to break me. But it's like, no, it's not gonna break me. Like I'm unstoppable and I'm gonna win and I'm gonna get back up and do what I gotta do. So that's why I picked that song.
I love it. And that song, I feel like as soon as I hear it, it just stays in my head for like days, I think.
Yes.
Like now it's going to be in my head forever. All right. My song, it's not a popular song, but it's a Pink song. I love Pink. So I'm going to play some of, am I allowed to play some of it? No. Okay. So I'm just going to
We're
say,
like, hold up, go back.
Are we running out of time? Are we hiding from the light? Are we just too scared to fight? Close your eyes and leave it all behind. Go where love is on our side. It's a trust fall, baby. It's a trust fall, baby. You and I and everyone alive. We can run into the fire. It's a trust fall, baby. It's a trust fall, baby. Ta-da!
All right, girl.
Fun song. I chose that song. I am still on a cloud nine. I've talked about this in previous episodes about my trip to China, everything I did with my running, and I'm still on that cloud. And I come back, and after any vacation, really, or after anything really like prominent in your life, and when you go back to stillness, it's kind of like, oh yeah. And that had been my goal for months. And so to be somewhere where now it's like, okay, now what? And I mean, I'm turning 40 in a couple months. Actually, not to date it, but I'm not going to date the episode, but very soon. 2 months from today, actually. And I just feel like now what do I want to do next? And I just need a jump. Trust fall. That's it.
Nice. I think you've always done that. And that's amazing.
Thank you. I
Mhm.
think what's interesting, and I've talked about this before, and it's going to dive right into the topic of our episode, and just like healing, and then doing the things that like are really scary, but that's kind of where you find yourself. And I think I went through a divorce, as you know, because you were there with all them calls and stuff years ago. But I think it's always just been kind of like, luckily, the way, like a defense mechanism, like if I would focus my energy on like a race or like some random goal, it's the only thing that I could control for myself out of all the other crazy things in my life that I couldn't control. So that's what I held on to, because I'm like, this I got grasp on. Nobody else can mess with this thing. So with that, speaking of that, like, you and I talk all the time, and what was this for you, or what do you have this? We talked about that the theme of the episode is finding ourselves as we grieve the loss of everything that we identified as, and maybe not everything, but most of the things that we identified as. And what has that been for you, or are you still finding that?
I'm still going through the journey, right? I think that last year gave me a lot of clarity, right, of what that is. I think sometimes we get complacent in things and we don't realize like I'm just going, right? And life is just lifing. And yeah, and so sometimes things have to happen to shake you up and be like, hey, what are you doing? Right. So last year I was going through I hit a piece of my marriage where I was like, ooh, right. I went through some difficult things within my marriage, and it kind of woke me up a little bit. And it's like, okay, what do you want to do? Right. When I got married, I didn't get married to get divorced. You know, I got married to stay in the
Right.
marriage, right, for life, or till death do us part, or what have you. So when we went through some issues, I was like, I need to find some help, right? Like therapy. Though
Yeah.
I've always been in therapy, I love therapy. I've been doing therapy for a long time, and but I started to do that, and I was like, you know, in the process of me going to therapy for my marriage, I realized it takes two, and I'm like, you know, the my other half was kind of like, you know, real nonchalant so about it in a way. So I kind of redirected my energy towards me, right? Because both parties are a piece of the marriage, right?
Right.
So I feel a lot of times when we get into a marriage, we don't realize that we bring all our brokenness into the relationship. And then it's like, I got baggage, you got baggage, let's go together with all our baggage, right? So healing parts of you before even getting in the marriage is so important, right? But how many of us really think about that? We don't.
Yeah.
And as I was going through that, I was like, wait, I'm uncovering things about me. And I just redirected the energy that I was spending trying to repair my marriage to focusing more on me.
Yeah.
And when I did that, it was mind blowing.
And did you notice, I mean, like, regardless of whatever was happening in the marriage, you were taking the time and putting in the work so that you could grow and help heal some of these traumas. Did you notice yourself expanding to a point where you were surpassing in growth to your other half?
That is exactly what was happening. I mean,
Yeah.
for months, it was just like the marriage and this. And you know, as a wife, right, I can't fix him, right? We can't fix anybody. So I was like, okay, what could I do better as a wife? What could I, you know, things like that. And I started to just refocus me. And then I'm like, you're right, exactly what you said, Lakona. Like I was like, oh wow, like this, the understanding and the levels that I'm reaching, just focusing on me is just different, you know?
Mhm.
So
And I want to point out, because I think that, and what you just did, and what a lot of people have trouble doing, especially as women, because, you know, for the most part, there's we love to just like not trash talk, but you know, so much man bashing and whatever. And Kari's never been that girl. And you immediately were like, okay, like, how did I contribute? What are the patterns? And not everybody can do that. And I feel like that is why you are where you're at, because you didn't just point fingers. And you really did take it inward and listen to what the therapist said, and really was like, wait a minute, like, how did I
100%.
contribute, or what can I do to make the next relationship better? And not even outside of the relationship. I see you, Alikona. Just make me now better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What were you
No,
gonna
what
say?
I was going to say is I was actually listening to this other therapist talk, and she was saying, instead of saying, and I don't know how the questions that you ask yourself, but instead of saying, like, what did I do wrong? It's more so like, how did I show up? How did I potentially allow this person to disrespect me by not holding to a certain standard? And how did I disrespect myself by showing up the way that I showed up? And I was like, oh, a much better way of looking at it than like what's wrong with me or whatever.
Absolutely. And I think that I didn't luckily, right? Because I've been to therapy before. And I was working on myself prior, but this version of working on myself, or this like layer of healing, was very different. I had never tapped into this, right? So it was more so like listening to my partner of where I may have failed, right? Because we all fail. You know, we're in this relationship, and sometimes we don't even know how to communicate our own needs. And it's like, he's not doing this, but did you tell him? Did you explain? Right? Sometimes, you know, we can't just assume. So paying attention to what he said, and then taking it back to, I always say, I take it back to the lab and be like, okay, did I do that? How did I do it? How could I have showed up differently? Right.
Mhm.
And I do that in every aspect of my life, but I don't think I ever did it within my marriage. Right. I do it at work. I do it with my son. I do it with different things. And sometimes, and I'm like, man, did I do that? And so just really paying attention, and like you said, Valerie, like, a lot of times we point the finger, and it both parties, right? Men do it too. Women,
Yeah.
we both do it to each other. But it's like, if we take a pause and like look inward and be like, okay, what role did I play? What could I have done differently? Not really just shaming yourself, right? Because you're right, Alikona, sometimes we're like, what did I do wrong? I sucked or whatever, right?
Mhm.
No, we're human. We're going to make mistakes. Just a matter of just evaluating the situation,
Yeah.
right? Like, what did I do? And I did that a lot, and it really, yeah, I uncovered so much greatness within me. Like, I can't even express it sometimes in words.
Well, I actually have a question, actually, for both you and Valerie, because all of us have been in serious relationships. We've all ended those serious relationships, however they ended. But it's like, when you took the time to be self-reflective, what was the one thing that you realized about yourself that you were like, ouch, okay. And again, like I said, that's like for both of you.
Yeah, I'm thinking. You know what I will say is something that has been a little bit challenging is I often talk to my boyfriend now about Valerie when I was married, and that was over 11 years ago. That's a whole decade. Then I had a really long relationship in between that. And so thinking about who I was as a wife back when I was a baby, that girl doesn't exist. Pieces of her do. And I feel bad for my boyfriend because I think he loved that girl. Not that he doesn't love me now. He obviously loves me. But I wasn't as headstrong. I do I am very stubborn, and I need to work on that particularly. Um but now I just know what I need and what I want so much, and I've learned what works for me and what doesn't. And also, look, I'm almost 40. Like, I don't got time for playing games. I don't have time for like falling in love with your potential. Like, I don't have time for making you feel good when I don't feel good. Like, not that it's all about it's a selfish thing, but I made those mistakes in the past, and that's what I ended up learning about myself. Is like, there was so much people pleasing, like we've talked about, Ali Kona, and now I feel like I'm not all the way to one side, but I could reel it in and soften back up. But the walls go up, and it's just kind of a natural defense mechanism. And it's like the walls went up with some um I'm trying to think of like what the main thing of my marriage was. Not to get into the details, but just like, not really knowing somebody and deceit. Um and at a young
Maybe just
age,
not knowing how to deal with things. We weren't
sure.
taught that. We didn't see it growing up.
Yeah. So I think now I I realize, like, I need to find that middle ground again. Just because my boyfriend now doesn't really, he deserves to get that vow from before. That vow before, like, all that pain and, like, the confusion and the things. I don't even remember what your question was, Ali Kona.
That's okay. I was just asking, like, when you stepped back and you did some reflection after leaving a relationship and doing that whole, like, what did I contribute to the situation? And the thing that you realized was like, ouch, okay, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I contributed a lot of I just didn't, I wasn't clear with my boundaries. I didn't know my boundaries. I I didn't listen to myself. Like, there was signs and things that were said and things that I were just like, just kind of let it go, and I didn't have enough self-love and self-respect. Point blank, period.
I think that's super common for women in general. Unfortunately, like, I think we are not
Mm-hmm.
taught boundaries. We're taught to be polite. And if we're not polite, then we're a bitch.
Yeah.
So it's hard. We have to
Yep.
learn that our own through our own hardships. So, I mean, I'll ask the same thing of you, Karina, and then I will share my own.
I think I'm with Valerie on that. I think a lot of times, it was just like, I just would go with the flow. I would prioritize everyone else. And then like, I'm like last, and it's like, oh, I'm okay. It's not that important, right? As long as everybody else around me is okay. I realized like there was so much that I didn't say, and like, but in a way I held resentment for something that I didn't even speak about. Right. So I'm like, I'm mad, but girl, you didn't speak up. You didn't say anything. Right.
Yeah.
And it's your own, I think like Valerie said, self-love, boundaries, and Alikona, you mentioned, like as growing up, like, even like my mom and the family, like we just kind of like, okay, my mom is very like, okay, super sweet lady. She'll give you everything. But it's kind of like, I'm a little bit more feisty than she is. And she'll tell me that. But I'm like, but feisty, not in the best way sometimes, right? That feistiness can come out like, girl. And so for me, I had that moment where I'm just like, wow, you put yourself last. Now you're like, you're over it. You're done. And now it's like this explosion. And it's just like, it's not fair for those around you to receive that when you, one, didn't choose yourself. You didn't love yourself enough to speak up for yourself and be like, hey, I need something too, right? Instead of like just giving and giving and giving, So
I wanted to bring up something that I've talked to both of you about that you have in common, and in different relationships and in different times, you've both talked about stepping a little bit or leaning into your masculine sometimes in relationships. So speak a little bit on that, on like how that's helped or how that has not helped relationships, and where you are now with, are you more leaning more into your feminine, masculine? And I know that's like, for some people, like hoo-ha, he talk, whatever, but I think it's relevant.
100% relevant. I think by default, through therapy, I realized I had daddy issues. Right. So I'm like, but every person that I dated, I was always helping them. Like I was always like, oh, the mommy, like I got you, almost like constantly like, I like, you're wounded, I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to care for you and I'm going to help you and I'm going to make you this like amazing person. But it was the things that I needed to do for myself. Right. But it was easier to help someone else, and it was gratifying versus like me dealing with me dealing with Karina's like truth and Karina's this. And I'm like, ugh. So I used to do that a lot. But at the same time, because I was so in my masculinity, like I wasn't a soft woman, and like the things that my partners needed from me, the intimacy and the soft girl and, the stroking your ego. I was like, I ain't doing that, and I'm like, but I didn't realize why I wasn't doing that, right? Because to me, that was being vulnerable. I'm like, what if I do that? And he's like, girl, what are you saying? Like, I didn't want to feel that. And so like, I just defaulted to that by default. Like, I was like, I got this, I'll figure it out. And it's like, going through what I went through last year made me realize I don't want to be the figure out girl. I want to like a partner that I'll be like, I got you, babe. I'm here. You're the best. You're amazing. You're going to make it happen for us. Like I want to be a soft girl. I want to be a woman. I don't want to take control or figure nothing out anymore. Even though by default, I probably will.
You will.
Right?
You always will.
There's a sense of me that's just like, that ain't going away. But I do want to give my partner like more support, in a sense of like, not me taking over, like, don't worry about it, I got it. No, like, let me push him to be like, you got this, you know what I mean, that cheerleader, but still, be in the background like, okay, he's got it. Kind of letting go of that, because I think it impacted a lot of areas of my relationships by not being a soft girl, and thinking like I gotta take control, and it drains you.
Yeah. How could you relate, Alikona?
Well, I'm going to pop in and I'm going to backtrack 2 seconds and then dive into that one, because I'm going to cover how I showed up in my last relationships. 2 of them that stood out to me, one being like my first serious, intimate, whatever relationship. I wanted this person to like me so much that it's like, if they like this music, then I would try to listen to that music too. And if they were interested in something like that classic, like instead of just being myself and being okay with myself, I was trying to be the person that they liked. you know, like what I thought their idea of pretty was or interesting was. And I was always trying to prove that I was interesting. And I think the next long-term relationship that I got into, same thing. It's like I was always trying to prove how great I am. Like, look at me, I can take care of you and do all these nice things. And look at me, and I can do this and I can do that. And I'm worthy of you liking me, loving me, and blah, 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 blah. And also forgetting that, like the last person, and Val will agree, disagree, whatever, but the last person I was really involved with, to me, he was very good looking. So when I first initially met him, because I didn't have value in myself and my own, the way I look, I was like, this person is so good looking that I forgot he had feelings and emotions. Because I was like, he's just a man. Like, I couldn't possibly hurt that guy's feelings because, like, he's so hot. Like, a bunch of girls probably like him anyways. So I'm sure there are ways that I may have pushed him away, but just didn't acknowledge that maybe he had some sort of feelings. And when you put somebody on a pedestal, you also allow them to get away with things. Because for me, I was like, I'm just lucky that somebody good looking actually not only likes me, but wants to be in a relationship with me. Like, no one ever wants to be in a relationship with me. So I'll go ahead and I'll put up with this. Or, you know, he may not do all the extra fluff, but that's okay. Like, that's just not his personality. And so I would make excuses. Again, that's not to say that he was not a good person. He just wasn't.
Person.
Yeah, he was a
good dad.
Great person. Just not
the things that
if I vocalize, I wouldn't necessarily get. And I'm sure I did the same for him. So that's how I showed up. And it's far as like failing myself, it's like having certain standards, but then like brushing them to the side.
Correct. You know? And I think, and I love that you mentioned that too, because I do believe that if you showed up into that relationship or any really with, you know what? This just came to me. The way you show up and the way you know that with work and with your talent, I feel like, and this is just like a random exercise I thought, like show up to your relationship as that girl, like knowing like, I got the baddest arms in this fucking, you know, room, you know, whatever. But you know what I mean? Like
with that confidence.
Yeah, like if you show up to your relationships knowing you're the baddest, the way you do with your hosting, with your acting, with your parkour, with your these men are gonna be like, oh shit.
No matter how good he is, baby, I'm good looking too.
Right.
Hello?
Baby, I am talented. Baby, I got a podcast and a movie and I've written this and yeah, I just thought about that. That might be a good little trick for you. I read these two quotes, or I Googled them because y'all know me and my quotes. This one was so good. Says, some things break your heart, but fix your vision. Yo, the amount of times I thought about that, and Kari knows, and you too, Alikona, obviously. My last breakup broke my heart. Like I thought I was going to be married. I mean, I practically was. I just didn't have the paperwork. Haven't talked about this, but let's go. Like I had looked at rings, y'all. Like just there were so many things that were like venues that were talked about. Like we were planning the plans. And I was on cloud 9. And you know, this is really interesting and it's relevant to what just happened this week. And even with my song Trust Fall, I posted a thing about my boyfriend and I started getting anxiety. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And what it was is I was, and I get a little emotional thinking about it, but like I used to be in a place where I thought I had my guy and I thought that was it. And I had this fear of like, if I get really excited and I post it to the world that I'm in, that I got my guy again. And what if it's not my guy, you know, and it has nothing to do with the guy and everything to do with all the past disappointments. And so I realized, I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, no, post that shit because this is the guy and everything is amazing. And he is everything, you know, joined into everything that you've been asking for and wanting and praying. But it was such an interesting realization of like, oh, you're scared because if you put it out there, now you can get hurt.
It's real.
Again. Yeah. So I pushed and I posted, but it was just it's funny how that happens.
And I think it's great that you say that, and I hope and I would love for more men to be vocal about their vulnerabilities in a relationship, because I
Mm-hmm.
have been moments where I've straight up said, like, I care about you. So this is scary. Like, it is scary, and you try not to let the past creep in, but all the insecurities from the
It
past are like
does.
letdowns kind of make their way in. And I don't know. Anyways, just very, very relevant. So
Yeah. Gotti, where are you now? Like I know like and, we talk all the time. So it's like I know where you are. But for like if you were going to give advice to anybody who was still kind of in the mix of like the therapy and the, figuring out what I'm doing now, like what kind of advice would you give somebody who's where you're at? Like or maybe not as far along. Like what should they do?
Don't give up, right? I'm not gonna like I'm farther along, but it's a journey, right? You're gonna have I have days that I'm like questioning my whole life, right? And I have days that I'm like, I got this,
Yeah.
that strong woman, like but I have my moments, right? Where I am, emotional and I do and feel those feelings. Like it's okay to feel them, like we're human. But don't give up and always look at the how far along you've come. I think sometimes we're just in the moment and we don't realize like, wow, where I was 10 years ago, where I was a year ago, right? And surround yourself by good support. Not the people. I am the person. My friend group is not yes men. They're not people that are going to be like, yeah, girl, you got this. Oh yeah, girl, no. I have friends that'll be like, no, Karina, you're wrong. Right through the process, through my journey last year, they're like, come on, girl, there's things that you need to fix, and I appreciate that because those are real friends, right? If I
Yeah.
have a bunch of people that are just telling me, no, girl, you're good, you got this, like, how am I growing? How am I learning? So surround yourself by a good support team, right? Don't lose sight of what you're wanting to accomplish and what you've already accomplished, and just keep going. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, right? Figure out a way when you have those bad days what to do. I journal. Sometimes I'll
Oh,
make
that's a
little
good one.
videos. I might go back and look at those things and be like, girl, what were you thinking? I probably will never post them because sometimes they're at night and I'm looking crazy, but maybe the audio. But I've learned so much through the journey that it feels so good. Like I always said I turned 40 exactly a month ago, because we were both first of the month, right? So I remember saying 2-3 years ago, my 40s are going to be the best years of my life. I don't know why I was saying it, but I would always say it. Valerie's heard me say it. I mean, everybody. And, I would always pray to God, like, God, remove people from my life. Like one of the biggest things I say is remove people from my life that are no longer hold a place in my life, right? Sometimes we keep people around longer than they should be.
Yes.
Um, and you don't realize they're just weighing you down and weighing you down. And sometimes it's hard to let go because sometimes the people that need to go are some people that you really love, right? And it's hard.
That is
And
the hardest, letting go or walking away from somebody. What not even tapping into like what they did or wrong or right
yeah,
in the
forget all that.
relationship, but there's still love. And walking away from that situation is, man, takes a lot of strength, man.
But at what point, though, did you choose yourself? Because you said like you tried therapy with your husband and all these things. So at what point were you like, okay, like I've done my part? Because I think that's the like knowing when to leave.
That's a great question.
And I'll be honest with you, it'll be different for everybody,
That's right.
right? I think that for me, when I was doing all that and I didn't see like any type of efforts, one, from his part,
Mm-hmm.
and two, something I never spoke about. I've never said this to anybody, so now it's going to be out there. But when I realized that my husband need the level of healing that that was needed,
Mm-hmm.
he reminded me of myself when I was like in my 20s, right?
That's
And
interesting.
he's a great person. I'm not going to take away from like who the potential that he has, because he when we were together, like he treated me great. You know what I mean? Like Valerie knows, we witnessed it.
Mhm.
I'm not going to take that away from him, right? He did a lot in the home, but there was a lot of like past things that needed to be addressed. And I think that it played a role in our relationship. And what I realized, like, man, he's got to start step one with therapy. And if he doesn't see it, how long is it going to take for him to get there, right? Because once you go through something in a marriage, you have to work through that. So like, you got to work on yourself, and then you got to work on the marriage. And then I asked myself, Karina, that took you about 10 years to get through. Are you willing to put yourself on the back burner for another 10 years for this person? Right? And I'll be honest with you, I know that I was willing. I think that for a long time, I was definitely willing. I think up until the end of the year of last year, I was willing, probably till recent. You know, sometimes I'm like, well, if he comes and says, let's try to fix this, or, you know, like, because I've always been that person that wants to help people. So, but when I saw that there was no efforts and that he was like, I'm good, it's like, I ain't got no problem, or, you know, or like, I'm great. I was like,
Yes.
you got to pick yourself at this point, right?
Yes.
And learn to love them from a distance.
Yes. And I want to make clear, because there's a lot of, and I'm going to say a lot of details that Gotti is leaving out. But I think, and it does, and it's not nor here nor there, but what's important is that you didn't just give up, you know, because I know a lot of people, when I got divorced, especially because I was young and all of y'all were single or not even married or whatever. And so I felt like Scarlet Letter was on me, you know, it's like, dun, dun, dun. And it was such a stereotype, you know, Hollywood actress, and everybody gets divorced all the time. And I feel like nowadays it's spoken about that, like, the young people, millennials, whatever, that they don't take marriage seriously. They just, you know, they just get divorced, they're married, who cares? But you put in the work, you put in the time, and after, I'd say over a year, maybe even longer, I'm not sure, of not seeing that effort put in and that self accountability more than anything, because effort and progress, that's going to take time. And you knew that, but it was more of that self accountability. That's, I feel like, when you were like, okay, I'm on this journey by myself. So then let me continue this journey by myself. And you forgave a lot, and you were willing to continue after a lot of things that a lot of other people wouldn't have even given the time or day and been like, bye. So I just wanted to say that, because that takes, it just says a lot to who you are, and like, and you didn't just give up. You're not like, just taking an easy route or whatever. I don't know. People just put labels on these kind of things, and and
it's definitely not an easy route. Yeah, it's really hard because it was unexpected. It was, like I said, it's like losing someone, mourning the loss of someone who's still alive, right? And like knowing that I see you, who you can be, and everything, but I can't make that person come out if you yourself don't see that person, right? And it's heartbreaking. Like, I don't think I've ever felt heartbreak this way. Yeah. Even through like previous relationships and things like that, like, I can honestly say this is the first time like my heart has been completely shattered, you know? And I was like, wow. So going through that, but then at the same time finding myself and like self-love and like, girl, you got this. And like finally looking in the mirror and the reflection looking back at me made me smile. That was like, wow. You know, it's like that. I had never felt that before. And that feeling gives you so much power, you know, that I don't know how to describe it. Like, I was just like, wow, I've never felt this before, you know? And it really made me realize that's what you meant by your 40s are about to be the best years of your life, right? Because I'm like, wow, this new version of me, I don't even know. This girl is capable of doing so much.
Dare I say unstoppable?
I mean, yes. Yes.
Love that though, but I love that because Many reasons. One, if this were 20 years ago, I feel like people would be like, oh, you're 40 and divorced? Oh. And it's like, no, it's amazing. It's the first start of something brand new. And back to like Val, what you were saying as far as people being like, oh, they don't try as hard, they get divorced so quickly, like the younger people. I think it's also a little bit of society has changed and you're not as shunned, especially as a woman, for getting a divorce. So if you're unhappy and your partner is not willing to fulfill and whatever, or you're just not as compatible as you thought you were, like fucking get a divorce. Like don't live your life for the rest of your life married because religion told you it's a sin to get a divorce or because your parents told you you should stick it out, you should stick it out. Like if you can't go any further, like congratulations. It's a brave step that you took. Awesome.
Absolutely. I'm gonna take it back a little bit more. Before you get married, like let's start there, right? Like before you get married, I think that people have this stigma like, oh, you're 35 and you're not married yet? Like what? You ain't got no kids?
Tell Alicona this. She thinks she's too old for marriage.
Listen, you seen these people at 70 getting married. Like what?
Thank
Maybe it took that long. Who cares?
That's like their second. Hold on, that's like their second or third marriage, and you're like, oh.
Some people don't. Some people never.
What about
like
George Clooney? He's never been married.
Yeah. So I think that the problem that we have is that prior to us getting married, we're not addressing things that need to be addressed. We're not healing from things that like, I wish that like me and him would have healed from our previous trauma from our relationships. And I think that we would have showed up a little different in our marriage. And then we would have, it would have been different kind of thing. Right. So I think that a lot of times we go into these relationships broken with all these things, baggages from previous people that did things to us. Now this person's paying for the stuff that the other person did, and you don't even realize you're doing it. Yeah. But they are. And so like, I think that before we even say I do, let's address those things so that I think marriages could last longer if those things are addressed before.
Yeah.
Right. But I agree. Yeah. If you're not happy, you don't have to stay in the relationship. Right. But I think that if those things are addressed ahead of time, the outcome would be different.
So in the future, then, like when you meet your next dude, would you require them to go to therapy ahead of time? Or like, how would you feel out the situation to make sure? You know what I mean? Like, how do you feel that
yes.
like mature enough emotionally to be seriously involved with?
So, it's funny you say that because I have literally thought about that. And I'm like, man, because the reality of it is therapy isn't, not a lot of people are open to it. I know that. And so I'm like, I said that I think I was talking to my sister. I was like, girl, me being obviously going through therapy, and I am what they call in a state of awareness, right? So I see everything, and it's a gift and a curse, right? Mm-hmm. Because I'm like, nope. That doesn't feel right. Oh no, look at that. And I'm just like, Karina, like it's bad in that sense, but great because I'm also protecting myself, right? And but I'm like, I think that I would want someone that's open to therapy, right? Like if you haven't gone, whatever, at least you're open to it. That's a start. I don't know. I haven't gotten to that point yet. Like I even like dating and stuff, I'm like, it kind of scares me a little. Like, I'm just like, I'm not ready for that. Because I'm still in my journey. So adding another person to the mix is kind of like, do I have time to like stroke your ego, check in on you, do this, do that? Like, am I ready for all that right now?
Okay, so I'm gonna have Val just so you can brew on this while I ask Karina, because I'm gonna ask you what you did to like vet David, if you did at all. But
what I did to what?
Vet David.
To vet.
To vet. But Karina, what I was gonna say to piggyback off, because you're like, oh, I'm still working on myself. Val and I have had this conversation where I feel like wherever you are in your journey today, if you meet a guy and start dating him today, he's probably somewhere in the same energetic field or emotional maturity as where you're at right now. So if you are continuing to grow, eventually you will outgrow him unless he's still willing to grow himself. So for me, I'm like, I'm not going to date anybody until I feel like I'm at my fullest emotional potential, healing wise, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because I don't want to attract anybody right now with where I'm at today, because I know there's more to go. If that makes sense.
Yes. Great advice. I love that. I feel like that resonates with where I was when I got married. and why that didn't pan out for so many different reasons, and even the relationship after that. Now, to answer your question on what I did to vet David, you know what? I think that David came into my life after exactly what you just said. I mean, and both of y'all know, because I would talk to you about the guys I was dating, which, by the way, was kind of fun. Just because, like, I mean, Gotti knows me from when nobody would date us, and Ali Coney, you met me when I was married,
Yep.
and so not much of dating. But I always thought it was fun to kind of like talk to my girlfriends about this guy or that guy, and this one didn't wash his feet, or
Oh my God.
This one had belly button
yo,
photos.
that is an episode. But so I think that by the time David came around, I don't know if I had to vet him. Like, everything felt supernatural, and he was already a lot of the things that I was looking for without trying to be. Him being a girl dad, not even just a dad, that look, I used before in the beginning when I started dating, if it said they had a kid, I was like, no, thank you. Then I dated a couple people with children, and I was like, okay, this is not too bad. And then by the time David came around, it was just such a plus. One, that he knows how to deal with a young little girl, that the patience this man has. And I talk about this all the time because I mean, it's surpasses any patience that I think I have. I hope he bleeds off on me. Um, I just think that it all just aligned, Ali Kona. I think that, and God, see, it gets me a little emotional. Yeah, like when things don't work out again and again and again, and then your expectations in your heart is like way up there, and then it's like pop 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 pop, psych. Um, to finally find the person who kind of encompasses. And you know what was interesting to me is, like, I've never been so much, everybody sees David and he's like, oh, he's so fine, he's so hot, whatever. That's obviously the external. It's never been, God, he knows, that's never driven who I date. I love personality and like how the person makes me feel. Like, that trumps outer appearance always. So what was interesting is when I finally started dating David, everybody's like, "Oh, he kind of matches you more than any of these other guys," and I was like, "Well, damn." And also, um, that's great, like, that's such a plus, but it's never been the thing. His looks plus all the thing that he encompasses, his patience and his drive and all that. The package finally just came together.
It arrived, girl.
That what?
It arrived. You said the
It
package
arrived.
arrived.
Dang. Yes, finally.
I
Yeah,
think
I don't know.
that's how I think that's how it should be, right? Like, it shouldn't be work. Like, I mean, you're going to have to put in work in all relationships, right? Because there's going to be things, but certain things should just be like it should just flow.
And David did go to therapy on his own after his previous relationship, and he is definitely somebody who's always trying to work on himself. And we have all amazing conversations, which is actually really how it all
Great.
started, about, like, and he'll remind me today, like, is this whatever I'm feeling or dealing with, is that post breakup, is that like coming from my walls, or is that me freely trusting? And I've talked about this with both of y'all, like, certain boundaries I know are because of my past, and those aren't going anywhere, and they won't. And I am very headstrong with certain things that are very important to me, and they are in relation to the disappointment from my past, and I can't let those go. And I don't want to, because then I would be resentful. And then there's other things that David will bring up that I'm like, yeah, he's right. Like, I need to soften back up because I've gone a little too far. So I'm still actually trying to find that balance for myself, and it's something I need to work on for sure.
I love that he asks you, though. and he's
Yeah.
open to, I think a lot of people don't do that. They just say it and they're like, why is she doing that? You know what I mean? And then they start holding resentment towards you or vice versa, right? I think that open communication and just being curious about one another, right? Like when you're a mom and your kid like is acting a particular way, you don't just be like, oh, whatever, he's having a tantrum. No, you go and you figure out like what's going on, like why are you upset, like what upset you. I
Yeah.
don't think we do that enough in relationships, and we need it because we're all little broken kids inside of here. And sometimes, the way we grew up, our parents didn't go back and check on us. They were just like, girl, toughen up. It's okay, right? So we need to do that in relationships too. And I think that's beautiful that he does that because he understands and he understands
Yeah.
your boundary and he understands like, okay, this is a non-negotiable for her, but I'm okay with that. And just being, and if he wasn't, I would hope that he'd say, hey, listen, can we talk about this? Right. I think that's so important because the reality of it is we're never going to find the perfect partner. We're never going to find, like, I'm not going to find the man that's vulnerable and is this and that, goes to therapy. Like, I'm never going to find him because I'm not perfect either, but like open to certain things, being curious about you, if you get upset, like why, or, understanding the reason.
Yes.
I
David
think
always
it's super
says,
important.
we're not in like the Burger King dating industry where you can just have it your way and pick and choose like lettuce, no lettuce. He always says that. He's like,
That's funny.
I will say though, I love that there is a movement, or at least on social media, of certain men, very masculine men, speaking on podcasts. Or I don't know, maybe I clicked on like a million of them pop up on my feed. But there are these masculine, pretty decent looking dudes, and they're talking about like a man who is X, Y, and Z is toxic. If he's not trying to be of service or enhance your life, he's toxic. And it's like cool to see that now it's okay for men to talk about this and men to tell each other, like, bro, step up. What are you doing? I don't know.
I've seen a lot of that and I love it. Because I mean, and you're right, maybe I clicked on something too, or like the phone's listening to me because I'm like, I see it and I love it. And it's like, we need a lot more of it. Men don't have to, like, I said it before, men are like, you're strong, you're the provider, you're this, but they got feelings too. They're emotional. Like they have rough days. And if they come home and they don't have a woman or anybody to like, be like, it's going to be okay. Like, it's going to be, they're just like thugging it out. And it's like, how do they get through that? And it's like, they need it too. We're all humans. And I think that, but a lot of them are raised to be strong men. You can't show emotion. You can't this. And it's like, oh, yes, you can. It's okay. I'm not going to look at you as a weak person because you need a vent or cry. Who cares? Like this stays here, go ahead. Where else are you going to do it? I think that's important.
Yes.
I think it's really unfair that society does do that to men. I'd actually read somewhere that men are by nature, or little boys by nature, are actually more sensitive than little girls are. But we condition them to push that side of them away, to toughen up. But it does.
I believe it.
Huh?
I believe it. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, no, it just causes so much emotional damage. And they can't. Stunting their growth. How about that? Stunting their growth. I've been with many. I've been with many men. No, I have not. But I've been around many men that are very emotionally intelligent, but to an extent, and then it stops there. And you have to remind them that it's okay.
Yes, y'all. I want you to explain at least the what if thing, Alicona. I'm gonna plug in my computer because it might go off and before we do that, but so I'm gonna step up from the screen, but just obviously continue the what if and like any conversation. I'll be right back.
If you're brand new to season 2, we started to do this thing instead of doing quotes. We still wanted to end it on an up note, so we decided that we were going to do something called what if. So Karina, if there's anything this week or today that has been on your mind and you've been worried about it, we always what if the worst of the worst situations, like what if I can't pay my rent because da-da-da, or what if I get sick, or instead, what's the most amazing version of what could happen? Like, what's the most amazing outcome of this thing that you're worried about? So, for example, I am in the process of getting funding for a travel show that I have. I got distribution And then I found out I had to like raise the capital to fund the show and went, oh, but I don't know how to do that. And it's really hard. It really is. So instead of like pondering like all these people who maybe are not returning my emails, it's like, well, okay, my what if is, what if somebody like Beyond Meat, who's like a huge corporation, gets my letter? What if it makes it to the CEO? What if he's like, this is a freaking amazing idea? Like, of course I'll back it. What if I even get a pair of those really cute Beyond Meat sweats that they sell on the website that I didn't even know existed?
Oh, I love them.
It would be pretty amazing. So what is your what if, Karina?
What if? Oh man. I think for me, aside of obviously the stuff that I'm dealing with, I am working on a small business, and it's in the beginning stages, like literally beginning stages. And oh man, there's so many different things that can happen here, right? I think what if I put myself out there a little bit more, and all the right people just are like, let's do it. I want to help you get this off the floor and like make it a big thing, right? And make your vision a reality. I think that would be like, whoa, right? Like just the right person hears about me and my idea and is like, I want to help you. Let's make it happen. I think that would be amazing. So that's my what if. Let's speak it into the universe.
Yes. What about you guys?
I'm going to kind of piggyback on like new adventures. There's some like a new not so new adventure thing I want to do. So I'm just going to say, what if I get out of my own freaking way and not get overwhelmed by diving in and starting something new that's overwhelming? What if I go right in and I don't judge myself? What if I do all of this and it's highly successful and it becomes the thing that catapults my career into a direction I never knew it could even go into? That's
love that. Oh, yes.
That is that. I had another quote, or it was like it's kind of like a quote or something, but I mean, it is a quote, but I want to read it real quick. It says, finding yourself is not really how it works. You aren't a $10 bill in last winter's coat pocket. You're also not lost. Your true self is right there, buried under cultural conditioning, other people's opinions, and inaccurate conclusions you drew as a kid that became your beliefs about who you are. Finding yourself is actually returning to yourself and unlearning, an excavation, a remembering who you were before the world got its hands on you. I freaking loved that thing, and it just really kind of felt like the journey that you're going through. I think that we are all going through in a way. It's just trying to take out all the mush of all the things that people made us believe, all the disappointments, blah, 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 and just getting back to who we truly are at our core. And I'm so proud of you, Gotti. I can't say that enough. And see, I'm going to cry. I'm always going to cry. I'm just so proud of you. I know it's hard, dude. Life is fucking hard. Choosing yourself is hard. Loving is hard. And you are doing it, and you're an inspiration. And your business venture is going to freaking pop off. And our community is going to help you just put it out there. And yeah, just keep doing it. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. And yes, it's hard, but Valerie, you too, when I was going through my stuff, you inspired me a lot. You chose a few years ago. You made a decision that was very hard. And as I was going through my process, I think I've told you, I'm like, wow, look at Valerie. She did it. Sometimes we're so afraid because of the unknown. And it really, that was like right here. I was like, you know what? Valerie did it. And not to say that it was an easy process, because I know it wasn't, but it was so rewarding. And I was just like, I can do this. I have a great support system. And stop being scared. Let go of fear, because fear will stop us from just accomplishing anything we want to accomplish, whether it's personal, business, whatever it is. I'm like, if I don't try, I'll never know.
Yes.
So, and if I fail, I just learn, get back up and do it again, or do it differently, right? Not again, not the same thing, but so, but, thank you. I mean, thank you so
Yes.
much for your support. And I'm excited for this new journey, and I'm excited for all those things. And maybe, later on we can talk about that in another episode.
Yes.
Once I, get all my things going, but I'm excited for this girl. I'm excited for everything that's coming in, and the journey that I'm still just learning. It's new. It's brand new.
I love it. I love it. Well, we are here to support you, all your unpaid therapists. Right, Alicona?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show and just being willing to be vulnerable and talk about things and your process and your growth, because I know that it's not only inspiring for us, but just for the people that are listening as well, because I'm sure there's people at home going through the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yes. With that said, thank you to everybody who's been supporting us, listening, sharing all the things. Check out the Patreon. A lot of amazing perks on that. And until next time, thank you for joining us in season 2 of Your Unpaid Therapists. We'll see you later or hear us.
Bye.
Bye.